My name's James Poulter. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Vixen Labs. We're an international voice and conversational AI agency and publishers of the Voice Consumer Index 2022. I know it's 2023, but those trends still live. So if you'd like to go and download that, you'll also be able to find links to that in the little RFID chips that are on the tables at the back. Dom, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Would you just give a little introduction to who you are and what you do at Walmart for our assembled friends?
Thank you, JP, for asking me. So Dominique Essig, most people call me Dom. I lead our conversational commerce team at Walmart, so VP and GM of that. Our team sits in the Store 8 arm. Store 8 is our innovation arm at Walmart. It is about incubating and thinking about the next generation of ideas in retail. And our team is explicitly focused on conversational commerce, which is about allowing our customers to talk to Walmart through voice and text experiences.
And it's crucial that you mention voice and text at the moment, because I think we title this session Voice. It's part of the overall Voice Summit kind of conference and track. But I think, as we've heard from all of the sessions so far, what we're talking about here is humans talking to computers and sometimes talking to brands on behalf of those computers and vice versa. So just for everyone, just outline a little bit about what are the kind of domains that you're thinking about when it comes to conversational AI, and how do you kind of frame that within the context at Walmart for now?
Yep. Okay, so I'll first start with our focus. There are actually a couple of different teams that are focused on conversational experiences at Walmart, but we're specifically focused on allowing customers to frictionlessly shop for household items. So those items like food, consumables, or everyday GM, how can they talk to Walmart in the easiest possible way to get what they need? Our mission is focused on really being kind of a second set of hands for our customers to take on the mental and physical burden of household shopping. So it's all aspects of how do I get the items I need my family uses every single week, but how do we also help with some of those recurring tasks? How do we take on some of that burden? And that today comes to life as we said, through both text. We have a product called Text to Shop. We have our third-party voice experiences, which is through Siri and Google. And we're always really exploring kind of new ideas from a voice perspective and how customers, but to your point, it is a multimodal experience. We really think about customers talking to us from smart speakers to their mobile phones to in the car, kind of any moment.
And that's, I suppose, one of the most unique parts about where this probably overlays for Walmart is all those different paradigms, right? Those different places that we speak. And how do you guys think about actually constructing those different user journeys for those different use cases, right? That busy mum that's kind of going around the house trying to remember what's in the fridge and what am I going to make for dinner tonight, but she's not always in front of a device to do that. How do you guys get that insight to know where to start with those journeys?
I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sitting around a kitchen table and talking to our customers. I mean, I think that's where our team sits and starts, instantly is like, how and what does that need? We talk about our busy mom, we call her Taylor, and she's kind of our inspiration. And how does she get through everything she needs to do in a week? It's incredibly busy, but it's not just about the mom. She's obviously our focus, but families just in general are more complex and kind of chaotic than ever. And obviously the last kind of 2.5, 3 years have been really stressful. So we think about kind of how do our busy families, how can we aid them? How can we support them? And we sit around kitchen tables and we really start with their pain points and their needs. And there is that just every single week recurring, what do I, how and what do I feed my family? And that's where we really start with, the kind of those use cases, those solutions. And we kind of map to then, okay, well, what are the best ways we can solve that? And to your point, not every modality is perfect for every use case. And so it's really about understanding what's the right kind of product channel product fit from a user's perspective. But we do see our customers today using these modalities, these kind of channels interchangeably. They'll start with voice, they'll move into text, then they'll go to the app, maybe they'll come back to text. It really does kind of find those moments, and we think about her on the go. And we think about, she's trying to cook dinner and add items to the cart. She's in the middle of a meeting maybe perhaps, and she's suddenly forgotten that she didn't add something to the cart, and so she can send a quick text message. Right. So we're thinking about, it's all of those moments that we can be there to support her.
So, I mean, you mentioned Text to Shop, maybe just for those that maybe haven't had a chance to try that out, that's been a project that's been a long time in the works, and is, kind of taking on that modality that we actually all ubiquitously have, which is we're used to typing things in, we're used to texting in and getting support. Just explain a little bit more about what that is and why that's so important in this roadmap.
Yeah, so we're really excited. We just launched the general availability of text to shop for all Walmart customers in the United States. What that is the ability for you to, in your native messaging application, so whether that's on Android or iOS, kind of your open your iMessages, you can text Walmart. It is connected seamlessly to your account, and you have the ability to shop the entire assortment. So both e-commerce as well as kind of your local store. You can add items to your cart as you're going through the week. You can say reorder, and all of your usual items kind of come back to you, and you can quickly add 15 items to the cart. You can edit, remove things, you can even amend an order, and you can actually complete the entire transaction via text message. And it's really helpful because, as we said, that kind of we think about all of those experiences. Sometimes you don't want to say some things out loud, and it's just easier to send a text message, or you're kind of on the go, or you're in the middle of a meeting.
And I suppose for many of us, we're thinking, well, voice, text messaging, is that the same thing? But obviously it's still a channel of natural language. And, we were talking before about, and obviously as this session is titled, kind of the rise of these large language models, and in particular the excitement around things like ChatGPT are showing what it could look like to have more of a natural language conversation. So when you think about, for Walmart, what those types of models might look like, what types of new use cases does that present? And how might that change the dynamic that customers have with the brand, rather than it being just as transactional as add, kind of bananas to my shopping cart?
Yeah, so we think about actually not just simply of like, I need to add this item to the cart, I need to kind of check that out, book a time. We actually think about it in terms of a relationship with the consumer. So our goal is about being there whenever that she needs us. But we think and kind of phrase it, our team really does think about what's the emotion, how can we support her needs? And to your point, it is very exciting, everything that's been happening recently in the news. I'm sure you've all read multiple articles about ChatGPT. We have as well. We're incredibly excited about kind of the kind of advancements there and what will come. There's a lot of work in order to make that work for our use cases. We were talking about this, the complexities, it seems so obvious, but the complexities around retail, the complexities of having a catalog with millions and millions of products, being able to understand when somebody says great value, that's actually a brand of a product that's not necessarily just I need a great value. So we're excited about the advancements that are happening, but a lot of work before we fully bring that into production. We'll start doing some discovery on how this can come to life for us, but yeah.
And you're trying to build those relationships. And one of the other things that we've heard so far during the sessions of you here earlier, hearing about the role that synthetic media might also begin to play. Obviously, voices, you've done some experimentation in that in the third-party space within Siri and within Google Assistant. Where do you see the future of the voice assistant in that kind of Walmart ecosystem, and how might, kind of bringing real voices to play, whether those are synthetically generated from a real person or entirely generated from AI, where might that sit within your stack?
Yeah, so we're very excited. We consistently and constantly are looking at how can voice, intersect into the Walmart user, whether that might be in store, whether that might be at home. So there's a bunch of work and kind of prototyping and discovery that we're doing behind the scenes on that. And I think what we're excited about from a synthetic voice perspective, personally, I'm excited about the advancements there. I don't have young preschool kids, so I can't, CoComelon is not my audience at this particular time. I'm excited though even about how synthetic media can come to life when you think about kind of just individualized education, and how it can bring history to life. But from a Walmart perspective, we are excited to explore what synthetic voices could look like, and particularly why that could be, an extension of the Walmart brand. There's such a strong brand, there's such a strong resonance there for our customers, and so how can we tell and have kind of the Walmart brand come to life? We've only begun to scratch the surface there, to be honest. I was excited to hear, obviously, the kind of presentation earlier this morning, but more for us to explore there.
As such a large brand, we know that there are a number of other brands in this area, but that maybe haven't started on this journey. You mentioned that you guys sit outside of kind of just the core Walmart business. Just talk to me a little bit about how does a business at the scale of Walmart innovate in public? Because that is what you guys have to do, right? You have to be out there with real customers. Just talk to us a little bit about why you're set up the way you are, and what kind of agile kind of nature does that give to the way in which you guys work? Yeah,
it's been a brilliant opportunity to sit within the Store 8 team, and the whole focus, as I said before, is about thinking about the next generation of technology advancements. There's lots of other types of tests and companies that are being incubated within Store 8. And so that has enabled us the opportunity to really run and operate very quickly like a startup. We're very, very scrappy. We work kind of beside and in coordination with the larger Walmart team. But as you can imagine, with kind of over 4,500 stores and the massive business that it is, it's been a really great opportunity to sit outside of Walmart, but to work in partnership with that team. And so we work very, very closely with kind of the e-commerce teams. We work very closely with the merchandising teams, but it allows us to move quite quickly and test, pivot, which we've done for the past couple of years.
And you've also kind of taken a kind of build, buy, you kind of acquire, merge in kind of strategy. It's not all kind of homegrown so far. Why take that approach? Why not just try? We work with global brands all over the world all the time who are constantly trying to build everything from the ground up because they want to own everything. And more power to them, but it's hard work. But you guys have done a mixture of things, of bringing in acquisitions, merging in teams, but also building some homegrown IP. How does that kind of help advance the strategy versus trying to do it all yourself? Yeah.
So the core conversational AI platform is completely proprietary and has been built from the ground up. And that started with our first kind of foray into voice way back in 2018, 2019. So our natural language understanding engine is completely proprietary. It is built on open source, but it has been trained on our data, our customer data, our interactions, our large assortment. But we have recently bought some tools, and we do leverage third-party partnerships as well. So recently acquired BotMock last year, which is a conversational design tool. And I think what we saw with that acquisition was just a great opportunity to really advance our internal tooling. And as I said before, our retail use cases are so specific, so nuanced, and we needed really to kind of buy and accelerate our ability to move fast, particularly in the conversational design space. And then as it relates to partners, we've had great partners with Apple and Google, both on the voice and tech side. We use, on the tech side, Messages for Business on Apple. We use RCS with Android. And then obviously Siri, App Actions, Google Assistant. So it has been a hybrid approach, mostly about what will allow us to be nimble, but obviously most focused on solving our use cases. And so that's kind of the approach that's worked for us.
Obviously, during the pandemic, the role of the mobile app at Walmart has become significantly more important, and we've already heard just recently there from Tobias about the potential that the mobile as a kind of primary voice interface may become. Do you know how many features there are in the Walmart app?
It's quite large.
Okay, yeah. More than 300, I'm guessing?
I don't know the exact number, but it's a massive app that has lots of capabilities, both from, obviously, being able to sell e-commerce as well as your store assessment, and then even all of the services like auto care and pet RX and so forth. So it's very large. So we're excited about exploring, and I thought the Willow Tree example was quite exciting. How can the power of voice accelerate that experience for users? How does it just help them navigate a little bit more?
Yeah, and I suppose that we've seen with ChatGPT as well, a lot of the examples of build me a shopping list or write me a recipe for something, but helping with those other kind of use cases must be something that you guys are thinking about. Look, when it comes to this whole field of generative AI, do you see that there's an opportunity there for Walmart to, take a bigger stance in the broader e-commerce industry on how that should be done, and particularly around the standards that might need to be developed around it too?
Well, that's a big question. Yes, it's actually interesting, every aspect of what we build, the data that we collect obviously is done with an approach that's very focused on how is it best from a consumer perspective? Does this meet the standards of Walmart's practices from a data and ethical technology development perspective? I think that, to be fair, ChatGPT is so new. I've probably, like you and everybody else in this room, have been listening to hundreds of podcasts about, understanding how can this be leveraged both for the good and for the bad. Our focus has always been, as I said before, which sounds so repetitive, but apologize, but it is really about what is her pain point and what does she need? And I think your point, she does need help with recipes. She does need help with meal planning. She does need kind of almost another her that helps her navigate all the things that her family is doing every week. We think about her and she's almost keeping multiple lists at a time. She's got her physical list, she's got a list on her phone, and she's got the one in her head. Right. And so she's constantly trying to balance those. They're juggling in her head, and I think there's an opportunity for us to kind of reach out and say, what can we take on your behalf? What can we help you remember? What can we help you kind of take off your load, that kind of mental load she feels every day?
To kind of look, I suppose, towards the future in CES, we should probably do that. If anyone's walked around the main expo halls today, you'll see augmented reality everywhere, glasses everywhere, virtual reality everywhere. You guys have experimented in those spaces as well, more broadly in the business. And we often say at Vixen as well, that if we're going to have an augmented future or metaverse future, we're going to be talking to it. We're not going to be typing into it. We've already heard today that that's not going to operate fast enough. How important do you think getting these kind of conversational experiences right at the moment with the technology that is adopted on a mass level is going to be for what might come next? How are you preparing the way?
To me, I think the conversational experiences are a critical stepping stone to actually being successful in a new kind of metaverse. I think it allows people to understand how do I interact with this brand? How does this brand interact with me? It allows us to also test, what are the right conversational standards? What are the language patterns? What is the personality? How does a customer want to talk to a bot? And does they want the bot to talk back to them? And so for me, I think it's critical for us to get kind of text and voice successful in order to then set the kind of parameters of okay, what does the next generation look like? A lot of the work we're starting to do right now is also to explore, as I said before, the kind of concept of personality. How do you want the personality of your bot? Like, what is its persona? What is its character? What is its language? How does it respond to you? What is its role in your life? And I think there's a great way to kind of test that now in order to further understand how that might look like in the future and how you might interact with that in the metaverse.
I mean, we saw from the example from Verizon this morning, personalization, not just personality, is also a huge opportunity in this space. When you're thinking about trying to nail down something as big as what's the Walmart personality and trying to kind of distill that down, is that something that can even be done? Or are we going to see multiple personalities or multiple parts of the brand being expressed in different ways? How are you guys thinking about that?
Yeah, well, let me first start with personalization because I'm so passionate about this topic. Actually, I think I agree with you. I think this next generation of what I would call hyper-personalization, or has probably been used before, but the idea that it's not just about finding you the right product. I think that's what the last kind of 10 to 15 years have been, but it's also the right product for the right person at the right time, and this combination of both what, who, and when. So how do you serve all of those things? And when you ask for something at the bot to Walmart, that might be different than your wife. And so how do we understand that? And so there's a lot of work that needs to happen there because the expectation, as we saw, it needs to be so spot on, so fast, so resonate with you as a user. You can't see hundreds and hundreds and thousands of options. It will just waste your time. Nobody wants to, as we said, hear that kind of spoken to you. Nobody wants, to read that on a text message. And then as it relates to personality, I think both personalization and personality are actually really critical. Do I think that at some point there will be multiple ways that you could kind of adapt that regional, kind of localized bots or aspects to that? Yes. I think we'll start at the beginning and probably simple, which is one that really represents the Walmart brand, and then over time allow some opportunity for some differentiation there. But I think there's so much work that needs to be done just to get the first version out that there's a lot of work there for us.
You guys have the privilege of being in this space for a while. You've been building and buying and making your own things. For those that maybe are coming in, how many of you in the room, just by show of hands, are kind of coming to a session like this because you're thinking about starting this journey of going into voice or conversational? Okay, so for these folks that are kind of putting up their hands, if you were starting today with none of that you've kind of built over the past few years, where would you be starting now? What would you be paying attention to and help those folks out?
So I think, first and foremost, just being really focused on your use case. I think early in our journey, we had a couple of different types of problems we were trying to solve, and they were competing against each other, and we just hadn't done the due diligence. So I think laser focused on the problem that you want to solve. Our team is laser focused on household shopping. It's repetitive, it's frequency, it's a high pain point, and it's not delightful. So how do we make it really fantastic for our users? And then second, I think figuring out what is that mix of channels. As we said, kind of that product channel fit or channel product fit. It is, you probably, as we said before, don't want to maybe shop, 55 items via text message. That isn't actually the best way to solve it. But what we have enabled is both voice and text to take kind of multiple entries. So you could say banana, cheese, eggs, bread, milk, and chocolate. So it's figuring out what is the right modality for your customer and your problem that you're trying to solve. And I think that's really critical. And I think then lastly, I would say you're going to have lots of iteration. It is such a nuanced field. We've grown our team considerably, but finding the right kind of talent and the right use cases and then iterating consistently to get to the right, kind of solution for our customers has been absolutely critical.
I mean, maybe just to kind of finally double click into that kind of last point there, because I think that one big difference we've seen with customers over the past year is the move from building a voice experience as a kind of one and done thing to building another product or building another channel in your stack. Just maybe talk to us as we kind of close out here about how are you moving these experiments into the BAU and making them a part of the core Walmart experience. Yeah, and we're in that kind of transition now where we're starting to make it more, as we said, widely available, acceptable, and kind of open. I think first and foremost is knowing what's happening in the broader kind of Walmart ecosystem, what are the kind of the strategy, the key pain points, and then we anchor ourselves to that, but yet still staying true to our problems and staying true. We are not going to be the best way at this time right now to buy a 75-inch TV. That is not necessarily solved through voice and text. And so we've kind of really had to filter all of the kind of challenges or opportunities that Walmart's focused on into what do we want to really be focused on, what is our kind of niche and opportunity. And then it's just, I think consistent conversation across the organization so that we really anchor ourselves to not just solving our customers' pain, but also helping Walmart broadly. Driving that business value. Well, we're bang on time, so I'll call it there. Dom, Essig from VP of Walmart Conversational AI team, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Thank you all for being here.